to the channel. If you've not been here before, check out the playlist. Today I'm at the Falconry Centre. I'm going to feed the birds and I'm going to get some food for our giant sulcata tortoises, and then we're going to finish off the build of the European polecat enclosure. Check out our other video, Quest for the European polecat. But for anyone else, this hopefully will be a bit interesting for people that keep polecats and indeed domestic ferrets, whether they're working or pet. Now, I've kept ferrets for work for many years, and to be honest, I've always kept them, nearly always kept them, in a hutch type system, even a large hutch. I then progressed to put them in an empty aviary one time in my life, and seeing them having that much more room really makes a difference. Seeing these polecats already at the sort of the first generation's part, I'll explain in a minute, but the first generation setup of their enclosure, you really see how much these animals can run around, how intelligent they are, and how inquisitive they are. So for sure, if your pet ferrets come out and play, your working ferrets go out and work, being in a hutch is one way to keep them. But come and see what we're doing, hopefully give you some ideas. So I'll show you where we are so far. The guinea pig kind of cage is where they spent their first couple of weeks on arrival. Remember, polecats, these European polecats are captive bred wild animals in their mentality. They're not the same as a ferret. A ferret is a domestic animal. And people often ask me, what's the difference? And if something's captive bred and not taken from the wild, why isn't it domestic? It takes generations, often over hundreds of years, to domesticate a breed of animal, a species of animal. A domestic animal is far less likely to have aggression towards people and so on and so forth, because they're bred over generation and generation, hundreds and hundreds of generations, for traits that people like. We might breed them because we like their colour. So a lot of people, for instance, like white albino ferrets because they stand out in the undergrowth when you're working them. So it's a very common colour because people kept breeding from that colour form, that colour mutation. Equally, people breed animals that are least aggressive. So if you're working with a polecat, it's very apt to bite you. That's not fun if you're trying to work with it as an everyday assistant to extracting rabbits from a warren that they were already doing in 1066 when the Normans brought them here. Possibly before that, the Romans, who knows. If you look at domestic dogs, we now know most dogs breeds have floppy down ears, because the genetic trait for floppy down ears, those animals usually carry the genetic trait for easygoing, non-aggressive dogs. Think about the breeds that have sticky up ears. Alsatians, much more wolf-like. Huskies, much more wolf-like. More unpredictable. So here we have these guys here, and they're doing their thing. Now, the reason they started their life in there is simple. We needed to be able to handle these animals lots and lots and lots. If we'd have turned them loose into their full enclosure with lots of tubes, lots of hiding places, every time we wanted to pick those little young, not babies, but little baby ferrets up, start again Dave, those little baby polecats up, we would have been frightening them. They'd have hid in their tubes. We would have had to dig them out of their hidey holes, tip them out of their tubes, and they psychologically would revert to being wild animals. Frightened, we're coming in to get them. Really is interesting to see how animals behave. By keeping them in a simplistic setup like the guinea pig hutch over here, the guinea pig cage, it meant they could be high up because they were up there at waist level, our height, we're not towering above them, and it wasn't a case of chasing them round to get hold of them or uncovering them. They had a large, you can see the tube, that was their bed. We could just simply put our hands in and pick them up, and that resulted in animals that were very quickly, because of course we were very close as we brought them food, very quickly those animals were eagerly trying to climb out towards us every time we opened the cage door, and at that point was when we turned them free in here. But look now, look at that girl, look look how simplistic it is. It's a few things low level, and the cage is still in there that they grew up in. So today's job is to increase the height with pipe work. They've got a sun deck over there. I'm hoping they're going to use that as their bedroom so we can see them asleep. There's going to be, let me see, there's a glove on here, hanging off of there, the L bracket, something to hang food on for, give them that kind of reward system. What's the word I'm looking for? Enrichment. So things they can pull on and keep their muscles strong, bits of food on the end there. And all of this undergrowth here, this sort of little hidey holes here, that's going to turn into a log pile and so on. So check back in a second and we'll see what we've done with this enclosure to make it much more intricate. Now these animals run towards me to see me, expecting some food and a bit of interaction. Now the only problem I've got over there, in there, they had their usual poo corner. You see, easy to litter train ferrets. They have a poo corner, so I put their poo corner in, orientated in the same corner of this enclosure. Perfect. Sawdust in that corner, you can see there. So, you know, and I even put a pile of their poo in that corner, all to encourage them to poo in the same place. Look what's happening. Can you believe it? The only corner, the only part of this enclosure I don't want them in to do poos is every time I open that inward facing door to drag across that poo. Comment below if you know a spray scent that ferrets and mustelids absolutely loathe, because I'm going to soak that area in it if there's such a thing, and try and get them back pooing somewhere else. It's a real problem because it is typical animals that they've actually chosen to poo in the only place it's inconvenient. You can see how much they want to climb and do stuff. You can see how, just like ferrets, they're interacting together. Lots of play going on. But I have been told by everyone that breeds these European polecats, you can't keep them together as adults in the way that you can ferrets. So if you're watching this and you're a ferret keeper, you should know that ferrets need company. They thrive on company, and you can keep the hobster boys together. Certainly if they're brothers or reared together from youngsters, no problem at all year round. I'm told that these are wild animals in how they do things, and trying to keep two boys together, boys together when they're mature is just going to lead to horrendous fighting. So for now, they've got company, boy and girl. We'll see what occurs in the breeding season. Do we separate them? Do we vasectomise him? Who can tell? That's a worry for the future, not for today. Fantastic things. Just seeing this little, rather long intro, you can see how much these animals absolutely love having space and stuff to do. No different to a domestic ferret. So the job now, got a bit of tasty food, is to get them into there, lock them down so that I can get on in here without treading on them by accident. There's the poo, smeared all across the floor. Lovely, just what I wanted. And here they are, hungry as ever, because I'm the first person in there this morning, and they haven't had any extra food since yesterday. Come on in. Come on. Plan has worked. And they're back in their babe enclosure, fighting over their food, no doubt. Nice tasty Dale cockerels as a little tasty treat. It's over there we are. So we'll leave those two to scoff and we'll transform their enclosure further. So a little bit of background information. Here at Icarus Falconry, we open experience days flying birds of prey. But since last summer and into this summer and into next summer, we've opened up to the public en masse at weekends. Now that's all part of the Holdenby House Gardens. Check out holdenby.com for all ticket info. But you've missed it for this year. We'll open again in the spring next year. As a wider interest to the public and to sort of really push my passions forward, we opened up the British Wildlife Menagerie. Only small, key, interesting examples of British wildlife to expand the interest for the public. But my job's going to schools with animals, teaching about rainforests and all kinds of different nature-based topics. For me, British wildlife, now I'm old, has to be the most important wildlife, especially for these kids. They're not going to the rainforest at the weekend to sort of learn about what I've taught them, but they can do stuff even in their gardens to help create habitat for hedgehogs, amphibians and so on and so forth. So when they meet our disabled blind hedgehog Norma, they can tangibly go home and do something to help hedgehogs at home. British wildlife is key to anyone living in Britain. It has to be. It has to come first. We've got great crested newts, all captive bred lines pre-1981. Again, great crested newts, a living dragon, for goodness sakes, a living dragon, and you can get them in the UK, and we can help them even in our gardens. So the polecats have become part of that. Bred by Jeff Nielsen up in Northumberland. It was a 500-mile round trip in a day for me to go and collect those 2 baby polecats. Wonderful things that they are. He is just the sort of person that you would like to purchase any captive bred animals from. Absolutely devoted to his stock, and he loves them, and they are kept impeccably. So highly recommend him. Check out the Northumberland EU Polecat group on Facebook for sure. The enclosures that we're sort of modifying today, they are defunct birds of prey housing. So why am I using them and not building new? Because they're solid block walls and they've got solid concrete floors. Both things can have their drawbacks, but and steel roofs. It makes for really escape-proof, dig-proof, chew-proof enclosures, and it's also the way they're designed allows the public to look at them from both sides, but still offer lots of security for the animals within. Check out Roxy the Fox, her diaries on my YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel. Check out the Roxy the Fox diaries. All kinds of key wildlife, from the tiny harvest mice, hedgehogs, foxes, now the wonderful polecats. Again, a story to tell. Almost extinct in the UK, probably just hanging on in Wales. And now where we are in Northamptonshire, I see them relatively regularly on the roads, and I've accidentally trapped one too. So what a success story in these times of despair with wildlife. Persecuted away, and now they're doing really well and coming back where they belong. And that's what we like, the animals with a story to tell. We've got Britain's rarest reptile, smooth snakes, again, all captive bred. Stuff with a story to tell, to fire people up passionately about our magnificent UK wildlife. If you like this video and it's given you food for thought, search YouTube for another channel called The Cat and the Ferret. Check out that YouTube channel. This guy keeps genic cats, he keeps cats, domestic cats, and he keeps ferrets and European polecats in wonderful outdoor enclosures, and they will definitely give you more food for thought for what you can do, whether you're keeping polecats or working or pet ferrets, to give them that sort of stimulation, fitness. It's a completely different way to keep these animals, and you'll see so much different behaviour than just keeping in hutches. I'm not against that. Kept ferrets in hutches for years. The more space and the more interest they've got for their brain, the more you will see the behaviour come out on those animals. Highly recommend it. The Cat and the Ferret, check that channel out. One thing's for sure, even nocturnal animals, even owls and toads, whether it's those really nocturnal things or foxes and polecats, nocturnal animals love to sunbathe, because just like you and I, they get in ultraviolet rays, helping them produce vitamin D and synthesize calcium. It's surprising what animals you will catch sunbathing that you think are incredibly nocturnal. So the sun deck there for Roxy the Fox, the polecats, they're getting their own smaller version, which I think they will use. Time will tell. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. First off, cup of tea. Ooh, getting somewhere now. It's now raining, or just stopped raining. It was sunny a minute ago. I've mitigated that doorway area. I've entered my sort of yard, you know, the yard full of, it'll come in handy one day, that kind of stuff. Put a temporary porch in. If they don't manage to fly over it ninja style, which they probably will, I will then change that for an acrylic, because the whole point of the acrylic doorway is so everyone can see in low level, especially children. So I'll mitigate that with an acrylic porchway. As a note, if you are building any enclosure like this outdoors, a porchway just for security, it hasn't got to be anything special, just to sort of stop things bolting past you. Highly recommended. It's almost obligatory really with a lot of animals, especially birds. It just means you can see if there's anything sort of got out the door, and it stops them bolting past you because you've got that airlock in there. It wasn't fitted originally on this enclosure simply because the block has a passageway for entrance, so it's already got an airlock built in, if that makes sense, a security doorway. But come and have a look. I'll show you what I've done and think of some other ideas that can improve that, as well as just give you a couple of mini tips just to make things safe. Come on, let me drink my tea and then I'll take you over there. I'll take on a real quick tour of the wildlife menagerie. South-facing wall, outdoor reptile enclosures for British reptiles and amphibians. Not yet, coming soon. So you can walk along the front there as a visitor, or you can come in here and walk along here really quickly. We've got captive bred smooth snakes there. Not the best looking things, which is terrible really, because they're the rarest British reptile, but I've got way better looking snakes available to show you. But the British ones are the most important. I think adders are the most stunning, but to have these smooth snakes is amazing. Hardly anyone has them. So then we come in here, different areas really, where you can read a little bit about stuff. This old girl, I can't show you her because she will be on the verge of hibernating with the nighttime temperature drop this week. So she's coming out. Time for her to come out because we don't allow her to hibernate. It's too risky. Equally, the great crested newts. These guys are in their water stage, so visitors can see them for one more weekend, and then they'll be entering their land phase of their life cycle very soon. We've got bullheads in there, river fish, which are unusual and nowadays quite rare. Common toads, stuff that I can encourage people to help in their garden, and we can get out and look at them. That's the big thing here. We want animals that we can show people almost hands-on, face-to-face, to really hook them in. Red signal crayfish, fantastic, interesting things to keep. As a species, absolutely wreaking havoc on the UK aquatic ecosystems. And then as we go down, we've got the polecat enclosure. We'll come back to that. We've got Roxy the fox. She's got a double enclosure, and then she can go out in her collar and snuffle around outside. Like most of these things, most of these British mammals, pretty poor exhibits in some respects because they sleep all day. Well, they don't really, but they do like to. We've got harvest mice in here. Let's have a little look. Wow. It's a harvest mice enclosure. They have a sort of a 20-minute run around, 20-minute sleep day and night. Cat emerald, they're not nocturnal, they're not diurnal. They're active on a sort of on-off cycle. Tiny bodies. You guessed it, they're not out now, are they? 20-minute off cycle. And then we've got ratty rats in here. Lots of size. Yes, I'm not showing you the rats because they're not out, but to give you some idea of what we've achieved down here. Roxy the fox, superstar, super tame. But let's have a look at these polecats and where we are with those guys. They've had their breakfast, and like all babies, they're just snoozing and chilling now. Time to re-release them. Okay, remember, this is my take on what I had available, modifying it to what I hope is a really good enclosure for these guys. So we've got good signage here for visitors. I'm hoping they'll use this to sleep in quite a bit, because that means people can see them while they still feel snuggled up and secure. Again, British mammals, a lot of them are nocturnal. So down there, excuse me for wheezing, I'll have a puffer. You've got a water bowl. I've had a water bottle up till now, so they don't know what to make of that. Trial run might turn into a small pond. We shall see you there with the water. They have a dried high quality kitten food, quite a bit of protein in that, as well as a flesh or a meat diet. So, haven't swept up much, but I have cleaned up the poo. If this works, then this will be a similar design, acrylic, for them, or for our visitors, because if you're a small child, that's kind of now ruined the whole illusion, and it kind of looks a bit naff compared to what I'm trying to achieve here. But what it does mean is extra security door, and they can't poo where the door's sliding and my feet are going. So let's have a look around, just to make it look a little bit. The idea is naturalistic, bit of English countryside. That's the theme. So on here, we can tie another piece of meat that they can pull on. That can be on there, a bit of enrichment. Log pile. One thing to make sure of, when you make a log pile, you want it to look random, but the thing is, you don't want it to collapse or move. Ferrets, polecats, mustelids in general, pull, push, bite, chew, scratch. They are mischievous little things and they'll wreck stuff. It doesn't have to be screwed together, but it does have to be relatively solid so one can't push something on top of itself or on top of its mate. So higher level workway now, which they couldn't access before. We've got access up to here. We've got a nice walkway here. Now if they fall off, which I think they might do at this stage, this is a deep litter of Wix's sort of garden shredded bark. Never used it before, not sure pros and cons how we're going to get on, but one thing is it's absorbent for spot cleaning and it's also soft and spongy. Think of a kid's playground, because these are like mischievous kids for sure. So we've got 2 ways in to the lock pile. They can also get in. There's a little bit of straw in there, not enough to make it a bed. I don't really want them to spend all their time hidden in there. I'd rather they slept there. A little bit on view, but we'll see. Along here, nice sun deck. Sun comes in here in the morning. I think they'll use it, and then down they go without falling off. Let's see, into there. We've got a little bit of a seat here because it is nice to sit and interact with them. They do have a few little noisy toys to play with. If you've got any space like this, even 6x4, it's going to be a 6x4 Avery design. It's going to be bigger than most hutches. The bigger the better. They will, without a doubt, they will use all of the space you give them, without a doubt. These things are high energy animals, just like your domestic ferret. If you work your ferrets, you know how hard they work. They have a lot of energy. And of course, generally, you don't work them for 6 months of the year. So very nice. If you have the room, build them a ferret court, build them an outdoor enclosure, build them an indoor enclosure with lots of space. What this gives us is it's totally weatherproof and, fingers crossed, totally escape proof. Double mesh there. Don't want kids' fingers poking in, and it's security again if something goes wrong. Holes up there. There's a screw through every one into the woodwork to block those holes off. You do have to think of things. All the weasel family, all the mustelids, they're snakes with fur and legs. I think if you look at them like that and think of how snakes escape easy, look at it go. Wonderful things. And this is just my take on what I had available. You guys can invent what you like, but let me just tell you a couple of things. Stuff that doesn't move or collapse, that's heavy, is really important. I've got a cable tie up there, holding that pipework into place. It's just wrapped round and pushed back in on itself. If you cut a cable tie, do not use wire cutters, side cutters, if animals are going to access it. It leaves a razor sharp pointed edge with any side cutter. Use a really sharp Stanley knife blade, Stanley knife, and cut it off flush with a toggle. Do not cut your fingers doing that. Yes, I have. Yes, it goes in a long way. But if you just snip them off, side cutters, you leave a ferociously sharp edge. Okay, they're exploring. First time up to a higher level. Oh yes, he's not. Oh, I scared her. I have to say, the girl is feisty. She's definitely very wild in her habits, but Emily, sort of at the moment our key staff member who works with these guys, she's really been putting a lot of time in. Now, any ferret's going to nip as a baby. Baby humans, baby dogs, baby kittens, baby ferrets. Everything goes in their mouth. It's not me. It doesn't mean they're savage and they're biting you. That's what these were like. The boys still like that. You can push your fingers in his mouth. He doesn't lock on. No problem at all. The girl did get. Oh, these are hilarious. The girl did get very vicious, and as Emily rightly said, Dave, give them a load of food first thing in the morning before you handle them, because in the morning they've eaten all their favourite food, if not all their food. So of course they are also biting out of that food response. The boy, he's absolutely lovely. Come on. Come on, cheeky. Come on. You can see what I mean. So he's playing. Look at that. Absolutely fine. Just play biting, play fighting, and no aggression at all. Very different from a I'm going to eat you bite. You can really tell with these, even more than ferrets, they really hug like a bear. You can see how these things take down prey larger than themselves in the wild. Huge canine teeth, long sharp claws, and a really good strength to pull into their prey. Well, I'm well chuffed. Pretty successful change around to their enclosure. Already there's just thrilled and exploring, and that's what mustards and weasels do. They get everywhere and they go anywhere. All-terrain design. And an enclosure like this gives you that fun factor, and it gives them so much. Are we going to test the flooring out for sponginess or not while I'm here? Not yet. Always mitigate animals. I don't know, I honestly, keeping animals all my life, I sometimes think, how do they all survive in the wild? I'd never want to be a sheep farmer. Those things just want to kill themselves. But all animals in captivity will find ways of pushing things to the limit, often seemingly with no fear or common sense whatsoever. This is great. This is what I wanted to see. Lots of exploration. So possible pond area. Not quite sure. And the good thing is you can add stuff and take it away. So, like children, toys they've had for a while, they get bored of them. New toys are fascinating. Chop and change, put things in. And an enclosure like this, oh dear, what it really enables you to do is tidbit the food. Tasty bits of food, little bits of rabbit meat, whatever you want to put. Tidbit, tasty morsels, here, there, under there, everywhere. And instead of just wandering along, stuffing their face and getting fat, they're going to really work hard to find that food. Use some calories trying to find calories. Look at that. Well, they're having fun. The only question is, will my staff members, Emily especially, get over this porchway, or indeed will the boy fly through the air ninja style over here? I wouldn't put it past him at all. So I could honestly tell you, if we'd have let these animals go in here off the bat when they were even smaller, when we first got them this kind of size for the female, they would have gone wild. They would have been wild, and they would have shied away in there as we came in and reacted like wild animals. I'm sure we'd have got them tamer, but by keeping them in a small, simplistic enclosure, that meant we could just get them out, maul them to death, not mollycoddle them and mess about and just maul them to death. Baby animals, we call it spudderizing in my family, but that's another story. Handle them to death. If you go and get a pet hamster from the pet shop, they'll say to you, give it a few days to settle in, then make friends with it and nice tasty tidbits until it comes. No, if it's a young animal, pick it up, maul it to death. Short though, it will get very tired very quickly, because hold it, mess it around, play with it, all gently and calmly. It works wonders and makes these animals super tame, super fast. You can see now, all he's trying to do, cheeky, is come and see us. He's not trying to run away for sure. And massively, just playing, but he's gripping in there already. Look at him go. So lots of playing, lots of play fighting. Perfectly fine. Don't particularly want to keep prying the female off my shins every time I wear shorts. And I think Emily's cracked her. Wherever she is, she's in there. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's actually been a really enjoyable video to make. Just putting a bit of thought in, messing around, moving things about, and just seeing what we can achieve to make these guys have a great life and an interesting life indeed. Hopefully, I really hope we can harness train them now. So, my job is getting the public behind our wildlife, behind all wildlife. And one thing's for sure, if you can make it tangible, people want to touch stuff, they want to stroke stuff, or they want a close encounter if nothing else. Look at them. They haven't worked that out yet. Look and go. If you can get that close, tangible encounter, you'll hook them in. And if we can hook them into fantastic wildlife, British wildlife like these guys, well, that's got to be worth all the effort and time we put in. Look at those guys. Look at that. You're not going to get this kind of interesting behaviour and this kind of brain food for your animals if they're in a hutch. Not against hutches, but you can kind of see the difference if you've got the space available. Just make sure it's dig proof, it's scratch proof, it's I can't pull panels off proof, because ferrets, mustards of all kinds, European polecats, These guys let escape. I'm going to enjoy them some more. Here we go. Don't do it. Look. She's only using the poo corner that I intended them to use now. It literally is. I took away the place that I don't want to poo. That's going to make life easier. He's in there. This video is getting way too long. Don't do it. Whoa. Oh dear. I'll watch him some more. I think he'll escape. We'll wait and see. Thanks a lot, guys. Like and subscribe if you can.